AI is a car, then the cloud is its engine, right?
If someone wants to get started in cloud, wants to get a job in 2 weeks as a cloud developer, what would you do right now? So hello everyone, today we have Hardik here. Today we're going to talk about cloud engineering because it has a very strong future for 2025. Even if you see the trends, Nvidia is losing the hype and now Broadcom is taking the hype. So that also means that cloud is something you really need to be ready for because the hype is going to be there for AI agents and cloud, because if AI is the brain, then the engine it runs on is the cloud. So hi Hardik, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for hosting me. Hi, my name is Hardik. I work as a cloud software developer in the Bay Area at Nutanix. So I've been in this role for 2 years, and before that, I was working in another company back in India. And again, I was involved in like cloud migration. And I think those were the initial days. I mean, wherein there was a hype of moving everything to the public cloud because it scales indefinitely. And I think that is where I got my first hang of the cloud. And I think it dates even back. Like I am a gamer. I play a lot of FIFA and on my PS. And I think so once I was playing long back in my first year of undergrad, I was playing with my friends online. And then I realized like I was quite curious, how am I able to do this? Like how is the connection? Like how is the controls that he is playing in, and what are the movements that I'm doing being communicated? And I think that is the first time that I realized what a geo-distributed data center is. And I mean, and over the years, like my curiosity turned into, my passion to learn more about cloud. And here I am working as a cloud software developer, and it's been a really amazing journey.
So okay, so you were passionate about cloud from your childhood.
No, from my first year of undergrad. So I was playing FIFA, and that is where like I first discovered what a geo-distributed data center is. But then I took my cloud course back in like third year of engineering,
Uh-huh.
and that is when I understood. Okay, so this is what it means, and then I got my industry experience, and then I'm a full-time cloud software developer now.
So what cloud technology you learned in your college?
So it's basically like what is infrastructure as a service, PaaS, SaaS, and everything. And then I mean the fundamental of cloud is more than just I feel it's underlying technologies such as operating system, databases, distributed systems, and networking. It's like a cocktail of all of these technologies that signify what a cloud is. And that is how like if anyone wants to learn what if anyone wants to be a hands-on a cloud software developer, they have to learn all of these technologies. So yeah, I think it's these things.
Okay, so when you started learning cloud, what was the first cloud application you built and what was it about? On AWS, Azure, GCP? Walk us through the entire journey.
Oh, sure. Actually, the first thing that I developed was I just went to the AWS S3 and then I created a bucket. And then what I did was I wrote a Boto script of uploading a file
Hold
onto
on,
that
what is
bucket.
bucket? Can you describe like low
Sure,
level?
absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Consider like a folder directory structure on your computer, right? So
Uh-huh.
similarly, on an S3, in an S3 nomenclature, a bucket is basically a placeholder where you can upload all the files. And I mean, a file is called as an object there. So you upload it because it's called an object because it's immutable. So let's say, for example, you cannot change it. If you want to, if you re-upload it, it just gets it just gets overwritten on the destination on the remote. So that's basically what a bucket and object is. So what I did was I hosted a local host application wherein people can upload their resume. I was just very curious about the cloud. So it's just a one single form submit button with a cloud as a backend. And then, yeah, I did that basically with a backend as a Python Boto script. Basically, Boto is like it's like a SDK provided by AWS S3, and you can just upload it and you can access the S3 AWS S3 basically.
So you started experiment with data in cloud, and did you build an
Yeah.
application also on top of it?
So not application per se until my first industry experience. However, like I learned a lot about distributed systems. So when I was in my fourth year of like final year of my undergrad, I specifically wanted to learn distributed systems because I knew in of course in the academics I learned that that distributed systems is also like one of the key things that you need to learn if you want to be a cloud software developer. And then I learned that and I mean of course blockchain was a huge trend back then. So I thought let's pick up blockchain, and of course the underlying system is like a peer-to-peer network distributed system. So I did that, and then it was like a simple Yeah, I mean, I simulated like four nodes on my one local PC, and then made sure to have a custom consensus algorithm, to choose a leader and so on. So I think that was the initial that was the thing that really fueled my fire inside me, that I want to learn this field. And then I was lucky enough to be working on a cloud migration project when I was working here in India. And then I decided I needed more advanced studies, so that's why I came to the US for my masters, and yeah, here I am.
Okay, so quickly, two important messages for all students. If you have taken loan to come to the US, if it is in US dollars, it's worth it, even if you are an F1 visa, H1B visa, to refinance it, because many students on Reddit reported, on X reported that their interest rate dropped to less than half, less than 7%. Some people have interest rate more than 10%. They take through Prodigy Finance or other places. You can reduce it to 5 to 7% with SoFi, because with SoFi, irrespective of your visa, you can refinance immediately in just one step with the link in description below. And even if you want to open the bank account, that's completely optional. You can check out the link as well. Number two is, if you are coming to the US, if you haven't tried Mint Mobile, you have to try right now, because starting at just $15 per month, you get unlimited 5G, unlimited calling, unlimited text messages, and roaming in US, Canada as well. So what are you waiting for?
Enticing, right?
Whenever I go to India, I just add additional roaming, and it's almost my 5th year starting with Mint Mobile, and it's my favorite career provider in the US. Go check out both in the description below. Excellent. Let's go deeper into distributed systems. So a lot of students, of course, a lot of people know that, distributed system is like for Netflix. They have servers in India, US, wherever they are streaming, because it's faster to stream from servers in India. So they have servers in India as well. And if those servers in India cannot handle, the load also goes to US and outside servers. It might be slow, but that's how you scale it. So define something beyond, like what students should know beyond this.
Okay, so beyond this, like I think students should have I would really advise them to follow a particular plan. So first, let's say learn first about like what a multi-threading concurrency is. Be very hands-on on it, like understand what locks are, and when to use locking and other things, all the other concepts of multi-threading. Then jump onto the operating system databases, and then go to the distributed systems. And once if you have like a hold on all of these four concepts, then probably you can take on the cloud. The reason is, see, going on an S3 AWS UI and using all of the cloud computes, cloud storage, and everything. It's simple. You can do it via certification. But if you want to be like a cloud software developer, like if you want to like be a core backend developer for cloud, you need to have knowledge on all of these fields. So I think there are a lot of open source resources that are available. One thing that I would really recommend for distributed systems is there is an open MIT lecture on YouTube. You have to learn that. I mean, it's so good. I mean, the professor explains everything in depth. So, I mean, just read that. And for multi-threading and other concepts, there are a lot of YouTube videos, gate lectures available on YouTube, a lot of blogs. Just go through them and build something very simple. So one thing I would really like, let's say if you want to start with distributed systems and multi-threading, right? You can do what you can do basically. You can spawn up to localhost port and try to let's say if you have a simple your file on your MacBook, just keep one file and just spawn up two localhost ports and try to write it to the same file. So you'll understand the concept of distributed systems, because they are communicating with each other, and the concurrency as well, because you're writing to the same file. It's a shared resource. So it's a very simple project, but you can do that.
Wow, that's an exceptional idea. Like, learn by doing is the strategy we need to have. So this is how students can now learn distributed system, but let's talk about now the scope. So cloud hype is still big. Like, if you talk about the most valuable startups coming in cloud, it's endless. Like started with AWS, then Azure, Google's GCP, now Snowflake, Oracle, and Cloudflare. It's endless. The richest person in the world is second richest person in the world is founder of a cloud technology as well, or Oracle, right? So
Yeah.
it happened after Oracle Cloud became really big. So why do you think there is so much scope in cloud?
See, I think, let's say, a lot of scientists and a lot of, industry leaders say that we are in an AI era. So the thing is, if AI, like as you correctly said, like if AI is a car, then the cloud is its engine, right? I mean, you need that kind of framework, or you need that kind of power that can train your AI models, that can store your AI models, that can store your data, and a lot of other things, right? So cloud, I don't think it's cloud is going anywhere. I think, in fact, I see that cloud is gonna the scope for cloud is gonna grow exponentially. The reason is, okay, let's say right now, so these huge models are like what, a few hundred gigs or whatnot, right? Now let's say there is another industry problem that is going on right now, is how do you run those models locally? So this is a particular systems problem, right? How do you fit in that huge of a model onto your local system and you run it, right? So that's one thing. So like that's an interesting problem to solve. So I think a Mac has like 128 gig RAM. I think iMac, the latest one, if I'm not sure, I
Yeah.
read it somewhere. So I mean, imagine you can run Llama Lite or a light version of LLM on your local disk without hitting the remote server. That's so cool. You're gonna get your answers within seconds, and you don't even need an internet, right? And that's the beauty of like the system optimization, right? I mean, you have to, like, if you solve all of these things, right? I mean, you can achieve something really great, basically. So AI for everyone can be actually true, basically, if you think of that.
That's a little bit contradictory. You're saying that models will become smaller, our systems we use, they will get more powerful. So the
Yeah.
demand for inference of these models on cloud should decrease as well, right?
So it depends on the use case, right? I mean, so there are a few use cases that requires a lot of accuracy, right? I mean, so if I'm not wrong, there's a research that was going on in Google that they wanted to reduce the size of Gemini. So what they were exploring is, like, let's say if the neural network weights, they are using a float variable, instead of that they're using bytes, right? Like a byte, like 0 or 1, basically, a bit variable, sorry. So I mean, it will take a lot of hit on the accuracy. So the thing is, there are a few applications such as IoT or things like that that needs very little or minimal resources as well. But there are other applications that requires you to be very accurate. So industry is moving everywhere, I feel. So that's why, like, I feel cloud is not going anywhere, because you need to train those models. And then there is another problem of compressing those models and using it for a few other applications, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, specifically like models like video generation, they are so powerful. I doubt that day is even close. I doubt that day is like so far that it will be really impossible to create those AI generated videos on laptops. It's going to be so
Exactly.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome. So you walked us through your journey, becoming a cloud engineer. You had passion in your college, and then you came to the US. You did masters, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
what do you think? How much master's degree helped you in your journey to be a better cloud engineer? Was it all because of your passion, which you were learning on your own? Was it also the master's degree which boosted that passion?
I think of course masters did help me a lot. I mean, I took a lot of courses, and the courses were really amazing that further fueled my fire for cloud. But I think also one important thing that students should, like, I would advise students to do is, like, I mean, try to take on as many self projects as you can, because self learning is the best learning that I feel. It works for me a lot. So let's say if you go and read a few papers, or for example, I was just reading a paper on key value store, basically, an in-memory key value store. So what I'm gonna do right now is, like this month I'm gonna implement that using C++ Go on my local PC, basically. So the thing is that that is how I remember things for life, or rather it helps the increase the longevity of my knowledge. So I would really recommend, even if people do leak code, right? Like, let's say, like, there are a lot of contents that are available online, like, a problem can be solved in 10 ways, right? And everyone has a different way to do it. But the one thing that I would really recommend is, just do not watch the video. Like, once if you watched it, it's fine. Wait for a few minutes and then try to implement on your own, and then keep on revising the concept, not the problem. The underlying concept, if you use BFS, DFS, or whatever, right? You just have to have that template hands on, basically. Because whenever, if you go for an interview, right? I mean, BFS, DFS is just going to be one component of how you solve that problem. So basically, that is how you should learn. And even, like, be it any field, right? Just make sure that you implement you take on self projects and you keep on learning in a practical approach. So that will really help you a lot.
So, what skills you think has helped you to be where you are? You became now a SD3 at Nutanix. So, walk us through what skills, how do you learn, and how you reached where you are right now, especially technical skills.
So tech stack wise, I think it's C++ GoLang, particularly in terms of programming language and the technical concepts, the computer science concepts that I was talking was like distributed systems that I use for my like blockchain research project, multi-threading and operating systems as well. So what I used to do is like, for example, while I was doing my master's at UCI, there were a few research papers that I used to read, like whatever the professor recommends, right? Just go home, read that, and I'm pretty sure if it's a popular research, there will be some part of it that will be implemented by someone in GitHub. Just take that as a reference if you want that as a starting point, and then implement something of your own. So basically, the concept of like caching and things like that, if you are able to implement that, like as simple as an in-memory cache or something like that, using C++, GoLang, and other technologies, you can just do that. And for the database, I mean, if you want to get on started with the key value store, basically you can start on with like simple Cassandra, MongoDB, no SQL databases, and then you can just proceed with that. Or simple SQL database also works, but I mean, you just have to decide on which using which database for what kind of project that you're doing, right? So I think that's the text stack.
Yeah, I see GoLang is very popular in all distributed systems as well. Why GoLang is so popular in cloud and distributed systems?
I think GoLang was popular. I feel Rust is taking a lot of market share right now. A lot of new companies. I mean, see, it's very difficult for any company to move on from one programming language to another, right? I mean, it's like billions of lines of code. But I think the new companies, they are using a lot of Rust because they have they have handled the memory leak problem that C++ has. So that's one huge thing that they have solved, and a lot of companies are picking it up. But I think GoLang, I think it's like the best of both worlds. So it has taken the best thing of Java and the best thing of C++, but it's kind of slower than C++. But of course, like we also use GoLang, but we use it in the somewhere in the controller layer, because the thing is, for the core backend layer, you need to have performance, right? So I think C++ is the way to go. But I think given a choice, I think Rust is the next thing that's gonna go up.
Excellent. But if you have to suggest a new developer trying to get into cloud, you would recommend GoLang and Rust or one of them?
I think I would recommend I will recommend C++ because it's not going anywhere. Learn C++, and I think GoLang is also the second. Like if I rank top three, this should be the order, like C++, GoLang, and Rust. The Rust I'm also recommending because it's something that is being picked up. So it's like a slow process, right? It's gonna be fully implemented a few years down the line. So for you to enter the industry, C++ and GoLang is still the way to go.
Awesome. How do you see yourself now as a senior engineer versus like a beginner engineer? Like, what are the changes you have felt in yourself?
I mean, one thing as an engineer that we always have to do is like keep on learning yourself, right? Even if I was a junior engineer, like I was trying to learn, like I was striving really hard to learn like basic concepts. Now, as being like a senior developer, probably like I am kind of like practically aware of like the basic concepts, but probably like you'll have to learn intermediate, or like like you have to go in real depth of the concepts, right? So I think one thing as an engineer, you should never stop learning and just try to read. So I think this is the thing that I follow, and I would recommend is like every week just keep a goal. Go to any of the company's website, like for example Netflix, right? Just go to their website, engineering blog, and read one or two blogs. Like keep that as a goal, and then that'll increase your technical knowledge. But then also kind of read like a implementation of it, and probably in like six every quarter, just try to implement something that has been solved by these companies. They do a lot of open source contribution. Just try to implement that, and that will increase your practical knowledge, your programming skills, and other things aspect as well. So I think I would really recommend every student to follow this template, and it'll really help them a lot.
So walk us through the journey. So go to blogs of like Meta, Google, or
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
companies, and then try to implement whatever it's in research paper and do it in code.
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's a popular paper, right, let's say, so there, I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of GitHub implementation of it, right? Let's say, for example, I was just reading a blog on Netflix. They have solved like a distributed counting problem using distributed systems. It's like a very beautiful solution that they've written. But I mean, one day, like once I get some bandwidth, I'm planning to implement that as well, like on my local setup. So that what it'll do is, right, like you learn the way, like I mean, so if you read the blog, right, you'll understand how they have solved it. But then when you actually implement it, you will face a lot of technical difficulties, right? And debugging and solving those issues is like one of the core things that every software engineer should have, like a passion and a determination to say, like I am going to solve this issue. And I think so that is how like implementing those kind of complex problem is going to improve your debugging skills and other skills related, of course, like the primary skills such as distributed systems and C++ as well. So I think, yeah, that's the goal. Yeah.
Wow, so that's a great roadmap. So there's so many new papers coming out regularly on of these big tech companies, and that could be great starting project for all the students in college
Exactly.
everywhere. And it's so unique. Like no one is doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just yeah, I think also one important thing is like let's say like a student is in like a fourth year of engineering, like they have to do like a 1 year long project, like at least like in our undergrad, right? So they can take those blogs as a reference and they can build something on top of that, right? I mean, why not? So yeah.
Great idea. Awesome. So can you share how would you design as a senior engineer now, how would you design an end-to-end cloud system involving distributed systems and end-to-end cloud project?
Sure. Sure. I think so I am currently designing one for my company, like we are working. So I think one thing that we really focus on, so if you see our software engineer's journey, it's like 40% of the time you have to spend in designing work. I mean, that is really important. So the thing is, right now we are trying to solve one particular problem, but so how are we doing is you have to think about a future a lot. Like let's say this project can be like it is extensible to a lot other application, right? So you have to find like a common point that can be that can help you scale in each of these applications, basically, like in any of the industries. Like so, one thing that you have to think as a senior engineers, think about future a lot. How so you when you design a system, it has to be for the future because it has to scale, it has to be extended to other teams and things like that, right? So just keep that broader vision. And other thing that you need to think is like while writing the design document, be very open for feedbacks because see, I believe a lot in human bias. Like we are very set in thinking our own way, the way we are as a person. But if other teammates come into the picture and then they give feedbacks, right? Just be very open and just like let's say if you have recommended an approach A, and if your teammate is recommending approach B, just make sure that you spend significant amount of time thinking why approach B is better than your approach. And so that'll really help you put in the other person's shoe, and it can help you, probably it can develop a better solution. Probably the solution can be approach A or A and B, like A plus B. So yeah, so think about like feedbacks in a very open way. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So in the end-to-end system, like, when you talked about scalability, how do you think about scalability in cloud applications? What goes in your mind?
So okay, so like basically, I was trying to test something. Okay, some local, some feature that I developed. Okay, so I was like consider it it's a simple progress bar. Okay, so the scalability part, I was thinking like I went onto the official company documentation. How many files do we support in one particular folder? Okay, so then what I did was I thought of like I want to test it before I send it out for review or things like that, right? Like so I uploaded 100K files, 1 million files, 10 million files, and then I think 1 billion was too much for my local system, but of course think of it like in at least in a 10 million scale, because after that you can just extrapolate the graph. I mean, it works definitely. So just think of a really huge scale, and yeah, just try and implement that.
Okay. And what do you think about like some companies choosing bare metal because AWS is so expensive?
Oh yeah, I think one thing that's really picking up is like a field called cloud FinOps. Okay, so the thing is, AWS and all the public clouds are really expensive. Like even if you access something, you're gonna have to pay a fee for it. So what cloud FinOps does is it helps you optimize what data to be stored onto the public cloud and what data to be stored onto your bare metal, like a private cloud. So basically, it's like if you think of it, it's like an optimization problem, right? I mean, if you want to use some data very frequently, it's better to keep it on the data center, use it, and then just dump it onto the public cloud, right? So cloud FinOps is that one particular field that will help you optimize the cost, basically.
Oh, and what are these new companies like Databricks, Snowflake, and other new companies emerging are doing extra to compete?
So
Like,
I think if you attended like the latest Snowflake conference, this earning call, basically the shares popped up a lot because see, even now they have pivoted into providing that infrastructure for the AI workloads, right? I mean that is something. So that is why when we say that we are in an AI era, everything has to be in AI. Like one day I was in Costco, I saw a toothbrush which had written AI enabled. I was like, okay, so AI is that level, that granular in our life. Okay, so I think a lot of these companies such as AI Databricks, Snowflake, Databricks, they are investing significantly to optimize their infrastructure for AI workloads. Now I'm going to share an example how different it is. Okay, uh, let's say for example you're using a simple NLP application, question answering system. Okay, now how is it different is like there is something called as a vector DB. Okay, because you want to store the weights in a vector DB. Vector DB is like a column DB basically, and the weights, like for example if you're using a 5 and 2 dimensional model, so that means the embeddings will be 5 and 2 cross X, right? Whatever that dimension is, so you store it flat in the DB, and then when you retrieve it, or when you match it with your query, right? I mean it has to be translated into that embedding and then do a cosine similarity and retrieve it, right? So the reason why these database works faster than the SQL is that, like SQL or any kind of other DBs, right? The I mean they have optimized how to store the embeddings, how to retrieve the embeddings and things like that, right? So these databases are very separate from the other KVS or relational database. So if you try to improve your infrastructure to support those kind of databases, that's where you call yourself that, that we kind of support the AI workloads as well. So yeah.
I see. So for inferencing, I would give another
So
example. So let's say you have like a huge list of PDFs of enterprise customers, right? And they want to convert that to vector database and do something with that data and do
so
maybe a RAG application. They can do that because these cloud applications support that technology for AI workflow on that, and that's why they are standing out. Everyone is talking about them.
exactly. Exactly. So just, I mean, so the all of these companies are like, I feel that like they are like an infrastructure company, right? They provide the services for other like businesses to run their AI workloads. So that's how, like, if you support the underlying infrastructure, I mean, that is how you call yourself AI ready. And yeah.
And next year, it's going to be the year of AI agents. Like there'll be cloud workflows ready for AI agents. You can create agents within minutes.
Absolutely.
And like for
Absolutely.
example, like I use let's say Hagen to create my own avatar, right? Like later we can ask an agent to like just create videos for Hadoop and pick up topic and just do it. Like it's gonna
That's
be
right.
crazy. What
Yeah.
innovations do you see in cloud coming soon?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing, I mean, the thing that Tesla is developing, right? Humanoid bot, it's unbelievable. It's so futuristic. I mean, and that's what like AI is gonna be there. I mean, I really feel, I mean, so if you think of a bigger picture, like from physical tangential aspect, I think humanoid bots are really gonna be something great. But I think OpenAI also released something, right? I mean, if I'm not wrong, in their I think a couple of weeks back, they released that you can create your own kind of wrapper on ChatGPT really easy, or you can, of course, I think they also have like something called as create your own GPT right now, right? I mean, you just feed in the document and it'll fine tune it on that basically, right? So I mean, every simple application or every simple thing is gonna be AI powered. It's just the reality now that AI is gonna be in the simplest of things and the most complex of things. Yeah.
Excellent. Cloud is getting big. Data security is getting big. There's jobs like data
Sure.
governance and all. But what is impact of Gen AI on cloud data security? How
That's a
these
really
two
interesting
fields are
question.
going? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think, yeah, I think, see, I mean, AI has been, or simple deep neural networks, machine learning has been helping in cloud data security through like over a decade, right? But I think since Gen AI has come up something new, of course, I just recently published a paper on that one. Like it does help a lot, but also, to my surprise, it also creates a lot of risk in cloud data security. I'm gonna share an example how, right? I mean, let's say
Mm.
so there is, yeah. So I think there's one a jailbreak version of ChatGPT or a GPT that I forgot the name for. I think it's called Dan or something, if I'm not wrong.
Uh-huh.
So what it does is, so there are no more guardrails in it. Okay, there are no more security guardrails. What you can actually ask the GPT to do that is generate me malware codes. These malware codes are not even possible to be detected by the traditional malware detection system. So it's so risky to do that. I mean, so that's like the application, like from a malicious user perspective, right? But of course, for the companies to implement Gen AI, there are a lot of operational and ethical challenges that are being done, right? I mean, so for example, we don't know what kind of data is being used to train the AI, right? I mean, it can be my personal data, it can be my SSN, or it can be anything, right? I mean, it's just there. So I think there are a few regulatory challenges as well that will take a few years to implement Gen AI in cloud data security. But I mean, just look at it how dangerous it can be if there are no security guardrails, like the thing that I was mentioning, right? And in fact,
Yeah.
for phishing and social engineering attacks, right, you can generate like phishing emails like that are so difficult to detect. So I mean, yeah, so those are a few risks that, of course, Gen AI has. But of course, like if you think from a non-malicious user perspective, of course, it can also help you detect those attacks faster than the other ML models. But since it's still kind of new, and cloud data security is very critical it's a mission critical application, right? So that's why it'll take some time to be fully integrated into this domain.
100%. Like those who don't know the jailbreak version of ChatGPT, it's Dan, do anything for me. It's something like that. And like,
Yeah,
and then you type that prompt, it can do anything for you. And
exactly.
and that's how malicious things happen using ChatGPT and other models. Of course, they are trying to stay updated with how you can put that prompt. People keep trying, experimenting. They can do in different languages. So it's hard to
Absolutely.
block all of them, but it's a very dangerous part of AI right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned you wrote the paper on it. So you work on research at your job as well, or it's on the side?
Oh no, it's on my side. So that's why I said that I try to pick up something on my side along with working on this one. So yeah, it's my side hustle that I've picked up. Yeah.
Oh wow! And on the side, you do so many things. For example, you have like you teach people in APAC, Asia Pacific region, and you build stuff on the side as well. Tell us about your side hustles.
Sure. So I think when I was back in my first job at UBS back in Mumbai, so like of course there was like my team's work that I was doing, but I then also thought I want to invest my time, kind of helping people, and then there was this CSR opportunity that picked up. So I kind of like was involved in the team that developed a mobile gaming application that teaches students, youths in the rural parts of India about what basic financial concepts such as banking, insurance, taxes is. We were able to scale a lot because of the cloud. So the thing is, it was like a pass and play application, like on your local, it's like a local multiplayer. But then the COVID hit, and then students cannot meet, like because of the lockdown restrictions and whatnot. So we used the cloud to help it scale. And in fact, like we were after the COVID, we were able to use both the cloud, the online version of it, and the local multiplayer version of it. And we had like 50,000 odd users, odd students again. Like we it's like cloud helps you get this application to the last particular mile, right? I mean, it helps increase the accessibility as well. So we were able to do that, and so that was one of my side hustle. And then I came for my masters. I used to
Wait,
like
wait, wait. So,
really,
so
yeah.
you design end-to-end cloud application. Those students who were not able to learn in remote areas of Asia and India regions, you now help them with cloud-based learning technology so that they can continue their schoolwork. And
Correct.
around 50,000 students now.
Correct. So I think so this was back my intern project back in the, UBS. Then I picked it up on the side again, and then for the cloud specific version of it, like because of the lockdown restriction, right? So I was involved in the from hands-on scratch of POC version of that entire architecture, and then we took it to realize that into an actual application, like a scalable, robust application. So I think, yeah, so that's what like that's what the benefit of it, right? I mean, if you have that passion, and if you kind of if you want it, you go get it, and that's the only thing. Like, you just do something on the side and just make sure you give your every like 100% of it until the project is completed, and then you can of course see the success of it.
Yeah, what tech stack you used? Like, was it like uh, WebRTC and stuff like that?
No, we use like Socket.js, of course, with the other web technologies to make it online. We use like a socket communication and then deploy it onto the private servers of the NGO. So it's like a private cloud, basically.
So cloud to exchange what? Is it like video conferencing, video knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, let's say if you and me are playing, basically it's like a board game. So if you play any particular move, I have to see that in real time, right? So that's what, like, the communication that you moved your piece from a position A to position B. So that communication that I should see. So that is what, yeah.
So board games now possible
Yeah.
thanks to your technology. Awesome. Or what else? What's other side hustles you have?
Sure, absolutely. So, back in UCI, I was like, I got a hang of lead code. I used to do a lot of lead code. And yeah, I think so. Apart from lead code, of course, there were like courses that you have to take, and then just make sure that you learn extra. Like, professor. Okay, so let's say there was this one particular course, right? I mean, the professor had a PPT, and then like in below additional reading materials. So I understand it's very difficult because of the schedule, job search, and everything, but just try your best to read at least one or two papers or one of the two references that he or she has mentioned, and just it'll help you expand your knowledge. So just do that. So that was my side. Also, I used to read a lot of blogs, papers that professors recommend. And then when I joined Nutanix, I mean, apart like so there's my teamwork. Then there's another side hustle that I'm working for my company, like a new feature that I've like picked up. Like, I have asked my manager that can I pick it up basically from the backlog. So that's the other side hustle. But apart from that, like, I also like to do something of my own. So like I've joined TopMate. I help students on TopMate, and then this research paper that I've written. And yeah, I think, and I'm also developing a web platform that helps students, kind of find referrals easily. So hopefully, I'll just push it out in the beta anytime soon. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. So since you have like talked to so many top mate students, now you're building a tool in which like referring is easy. Like, I also feel like I need that tool, like who can go through my DMs and make a list of people who need a referral, who are good candidates with their resume. And I just, in one sitting, I do it. Excellent. So you talk to so many students who want to get a career in cloud on TopMate. So tell us what is missing in those students. What do they lack?
Okay, I think, see, one thing, so I think, see, LeetCode is like a very popular platform to do, right? I mean, like, you learn a lot of programming DSA concepts there, right? But I think one thing that I would recommend that a few students were missing is revising those concepts. Now, the example that I say is like, let's say you're solving a graph problem, okay? Now, see, BFS, DFS, you implement those technologies to solve that problem. But of course, like, if you like, see, these technologies are algorithms are very intuitive. But now if you go implement kind of like, let's say, Dijkstra's algorithm or any kind of other MST or things like that, right? For example, I do this like Dijkstra's. I consider that as a foundational algorithm. It's like, of course, an advancement, but make sure you revise those things, because it was my experience when I was interviewing for Google. So they asked me a problem based on Dijkstra's, and one more thing that, like, basically they had asked me like a Google Maps problem, wherein like you have to find the shortest distance, like the shortest path between a node A and a node B, but distance cannot be the heuristic. You have to find something else. So you have to use Dijkstra's algorithm for that. I mean, if you have those concepts ready, you can just easily implement it, right? So revision is very important, that a lot of students don't do. And the other thing, let's say, how to solve the lead code problem, right? I mean, if you go on the YouTube, there'll be a solution to that lead code problem. But I would really recommend is that once you watch that video, take some break. Do not implement it immediately. Make sure you have a pen and paper on the side, and then after 30 odd minutes or something, just go implement it again on your own with the algorithm that you understood, right? So take that pen and paper and you solve it on your own, basically. So that's very important. And one more thing is, after you have solved it, make sure you read the most efficient solution because it'll help you increase your knowledge. So that is again very important. So that's the lead code part of it. But I think if you want to if you're looking for careers in, like, say for example, cloud, right? I mean, so it's the interview spans a lot after the lead code round as well. So it's they are going to ask you multi-threading concept. They are going to ask you a lot of other like OS distributed systems and whatnot, right? So make sure you learn all of those concepts as well. Like it's very important. So yeah, I think that is the strategy.
So if you have to create a roadmap out of it, what would you say? Like, if someone wants to get started in cloud, wants to get a job in 2 weeks as a cloud developer, what would you do right now?
Okay, go. Okay, so 2 weeks is really crunch of a time, but okay, I'll try to fit in as many things as possible. So go to YouTube. First start learning about multi-threading. Learn basic locking systems. Okay, there are advanced lock, but it's okay. Just leave that for the side. So
In C++,
multi-threading is
right? It's okay.
C++. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then go for a database. Like let's say you're reading about Cassandra. Okay, so Cassandra has a few internal replication as well, and to store the data and metadata and whatnot. So just learn about the internal workings of Cassandra. Okay. Apart from that, yeah. So once the database thing is done, read about OS, caching, kernels, and a few other things. And the simplest thing you can do is just implement a simple cache. It's very easy to do that, and you can do that. Like basically, actually, there's one more thing that I did was for my operating system. There is a professor like in Stony Brook that I used to follow his work. Is like you can just go on his personal website and you can look at the assignments that he gives to the students. Right? I mean, you can just pick up a few basic assignments. You can do that, and I think this applies for all the other technical concepts that as well. So you do that. And then finally, our distributed systems, the simple project that I recommended, right? I mean, just spin up two nodes and ask them, ask each of the nodes to write on a file. So just try do that, and once it'll be done. So yeah,
And also, like, research projects, do go see what research papers are out in this technology, make a
absolutely.
like a beginner project in that and learn at a deeper level. Wow, what a roadmap. And what do you think is the biggest fear among students right now? I remember I was taking my flight somewhere, and a student comes to me ki like, there are more AI agents coming, Salesforce is not hiring. Like, what do you see the future? Like, that's the biggest fear. And other fear I see is like STEM OPT will be cancelled of Trump because of Trump. That's the fear randomly I see among students here. So what fears you see?
So absolutely. So these are all like valid fears, like AI taking up a job, and then with the administration changes that are coming up. But I think one thing that I would recommend is like, see, skills are never gonna get wasted. All you have to do is make yourself so skilled that companies want to hire you. See, if that's the case, if AI was so strong by now, why didn't everyone get layoff right now, right? I mean, so there are a few things, and I was actually looking like I was actually watching an interview between by Satya Nadella. He was saying that in 10 years down the line, he imagined like it'll be 2 day work week or something. 3 day AI will code for you, and 2 day you'll have to come in and just check it. But it's still 10 years down the line, and we don't know what's going to happen and what's not. I mean, just keep your skill really on top of that level, and just do not stop learning ever, because if you stop, right, I mean, there are other people who are learning, and then it's just that, I mean, you have to keep sharpening your skills basically. So yeah.
Excellent. And right now, there is another area which I want to dive into, which is called responsible AI and responsible cloud. Like these are like new keywords coming. So explain these, please.
Sure, absolutely. So, see, let's say when we say about responsible AI, so I was talking about the ethical challenges when it comes around that, right? I mean, we need to have like control over the data that we are feeding into training the AI model, right? I mean, it cannot be very like identity sensitive data, right? I mean, say for example, SSN. So there has to be like, I think the regulatory bodies are having some kind of guardrails around that, that you cannot, or rather, they are asking for the LLM companies to make this entire training, like the training data thing, very transparent. So it's of course that. And apart from that, I mean, responsible AI. I mean, see, AI is a very powerful tool. I use ChatGPT a lot for like if I want to learn any concept or anything like that, right? I mean, you have to. I mean, it's such a powerful tool. Just make sure you use it in your benefit, and I think it also comes a lot from the integrity of the user as well. I mean, make sure that you use it for a really good thing. I mean, so the Dan that we were talking about, right? It's so scary that, it's actually very scary, right? But I
Yeah.
think just make sure that you have that integrity as an engineer, that, you use it in for the betterment of the society. As an engineer, you try to solve a complex problem because you want to provide a solution for, let's say, businesses, which indirectly helps the people, right? So just make sure that you have that in you, and of course, like cloud as well, right? Let's say the project that the referrals project that I was taking up right now, right? I use cloud as a backend because, let's say if it scales to a lot of thousands of user, I do not have to worry about the resources. It's been taken part of, so that it really increases your agility in terms of, like, from the concept of the idea to deployment, and then, so yeah, cloud is also like a technology that you should use very responsibly. Yeah.
So yeah, there is definitely like whenever like adding on, it definitely seems so dangerous. If there's an AI agent you can deploy in 2 minutes, oh, send 1,000 emails to these 1,000 people to fish them, right? It seems so dangerous. So
Exactly.
these technologies, when they're developed, they really have to be mindful how they're going to stop that. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think, yeah, so that's why responsible cloud is something which at the same time would come and emerge, you're saying, right, to detect these.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I think so. A lot of LLM companies, or like LLMs, like OpenAI, or like everyone has their own LLM, right? They have those kind of security guardrails as well, but of course those security are also going to improve over time. They are implementing new and new measures to counter, the malicious users. So yeah.
Excellent. And what if you had to build today a startup in the tech stack of cloud engineering, what would you build and how?
Sure. Just take up any SaaS product. Okay. So one thing is, see, GenAI, as I said, right? GenAI is not going anywhere, right? So you can just build up any SaaS product. Okay. Like, let's say it can be like a simple. Okay. So I was actually reading like a YC blog or this thing. So they have created like a phone agent. Okay. So what it does is, like, the execs, they don't have time picking up the phone and, things like that, right? So they have like that phone agent in them. They can talk to the caller basically, and let's say the caller is saying, "Hey, can I get a time on your calendar for like tomorrow 5 p.m.?" So it'll automatically do that. Just imagine how simple it is, right? So you can kind of implement any. You can, if I would recommend, is like just go think of any problem, okay, and then try to use cloud because it helps you scale. And then if you want to solve, like, GenAI is not going anywhere, just try to implement, like, hit the ChatGPT API, and then you can achieve something that, previously it seemed very difficult to achieve, right?
Wow, great idea. I mean, today ChatGPT launched like a phone number to talk to ChatGPT via voice. It's crazy.
Oh, really? I was not aware of that.
Yeah, they launched that today. Tell us your biggest highs and lows in your career as a cloud developer.
Okay, so I think there was this one project that was really successful. So, like, I designed it from end to end, like last year, basically. I spent a significant amount of time designing, developing, and then testing, unit testing as well. And so I think when once you see that, customers are using your application, or rather it's actually revenue generating for your product, so that's like a really good feeling as an engineer. So that's, I think, one of my biggest highs. But I think from a personal or a like a student perspective, I think so like from a student perspective, like, we want to find jobs, right? So when I got into this company, this was the field that I really wanted to work in. So when I got that offer, it was really amazing for me. But the biggest, like, low for the students is, like, see, it is very difficult to accept their rejections, right? So I'm gonna share one story, okay? So Twitter was my dream company. Like, I have an email thread of 27 emails that I mailed the Twitter recruiter to just give me one interview call. Okay. I was very persistent. So after the hacker rank test, I mailed the recruiter, like, please give me. And I think, and then finally, in January of 2022, I got an interview call. February first
Wow.
week, I got an interview. The interview went really amazing, but then unfortunately, 2 weeks after down the line, I got a reject. Even after the hiring manager telling me that he absolutely loved my profile and he would love to take on board me on the team. The reason why I was rejected was I think the software engineering roles were like kind of full, intern roles were kind of full, and they were looking for ML roles, and I was not, my profile was not fit for the ML role. So it really, it really hit me hard. I mean, I was in my if you watch like Friends, I mean, I was in my sweatpants phase. I was sobbing. I like what happened and this. But I think, see, one thing that made me better as a person, as a student, is like, see, rejections, the lows are gonna be there in life. You just have to accept it and just make sure you have that thing in you that no, I'll get out of this. Like, just keep that feeling in your mind, and then you are going to reach somewhere. So that's for sure. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And I think, yeah, I think that was the biggest low in I think in my life. I mean, I had never felt bad about that, any rejections apart from that one.
Oh
But
my
yeah.
God. I mean, I can totally relate, but you were so persistent. Like this is an example I want to share. So, what inspired you to email 27 times to a recruiter?
I mean, so okay,
How
so just
frequent it was, and like how did that recruiter like accept you even like you emailed 27 times?
so the last email, right? I mean, so the last email that I replied was why Twitter is so important to me. Like I of course like hey, I've given the like my initial emails so like hey, I've given the coding test. Can you please let me know like what are the next step and then whatnot. And then I decided, okay, it was on the similar lines. And then the last email was like, why I absolutely want Twitter. And I shared my story that I started reading Twitter engineering blogs back in 2020, and I was in absolute love of the company. Okay. The problem, the architecture they have written, it's so good. Okay. So I was like, okay, so when I say like I'm interviewing for an intern role, I'm not just looking for a short time career. I want to stay here in the company, grow. And that's what something as a company also looks in the candidate, right? I mean, like you are willing to grow. You're not just here for any particular job. You're very passionate about solving like Twitter's problems and help Twitter grow. For example, in my case. So I think that was the last email, and I remember in the evening, recruiter replied me, "Are you available for a quick phone call, sometime two days down the line?" I was like, "Oh my God!" I could not believe it, right? But then it happened, and then yeah. So just be very persistent. See, if you want it, no, you have to face that ghosting phase as well, right? I mean, see, it's like it's understandable because recruiter have a lot of work as well, right? And in fact, everyone has it, right? So you just have to be very persistent and basically. And of course, like I had decided that that was my last mail. I was not gonna mail anything after that because I poured my heart out, basically, like why I absolutely wanted Twitter. So yeah.
This is so inspiring, and you timed it well. You were not like 27 emails in 1 week or one day. It was
Huh.
over months, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was
Wow.
over a month. So be patient because see, even they have a lot of work. Just be very mindful of their timelines as well. So yeah.
This is so inspiring. This is one of my favorite story I heard this month. Okay, what goals you have right now?
Okay, so apart from like my personal goals, if I like apart from my professional goals, like I want to like in my professional goal, I want to really be a subject matter expert in cloud and whatever I do. I want to really be like in depth of a lot of things like surrounding in the technology surrounding my industry. But apart from that, like like my personal goal is like I mean I really feel that see I was very fortunate to be accessible to a lot of resources that made me reach here. Okay, but not a lot of students, not a lot of people have that kind of resource access. So that's like being like a software developer, human. Like I just want to try to help a lot of students as possible. See, because I like why I'm choosing like a student is like basically I was a student myself, right? So I know what kind of struggles that are there. So like let's say for example, I was talking to one student on TalkMate. He said that he had applied for like 400 plus companies already in like 3 months, and he had got like zero calls. And then I was just trying to console him that I understand like it is difficult, but I'm pretty sure that companies usually hire a lot in the winter spring quarter basically, so you are going to get calls. I was just kind of consoling him, trying to make his resume better, like the mistakes that I did in my resume, I don't want anyone to do that basically. So like I mean, so I'm trying to contribute in this way. So yeah, I mean, that's what my goal is, like help as many people as you can. And yeah,
Excellent. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Hardik. Again, it was wonderful
absolutely.
talking to you. And anyone want to connect with Hardik, check out his LinkedIn in the description below. And thank you again.
Thanks for hosting me on this podcast. It was really nice talking to you.
Pleasure. And one quote I wanted to say, I forgot that power is in the follow up. No one responds on the first attempt in 2024 or 2025. You have
Absolutely.
to follow up. And
Absolutely.
those who follow up win the race. Yeah.
Absolutely.